First, we get the autopsy, the preliminary autopsy report that was done by the family. And I went over that on my live as Ben Crump was reading the autopsy. So I broke the autopsy down. There's a lot of you guys that don't understand these procedures, especially when it comes to a secondary autopsy. And, all of the, typical factors and things like that. But I knew that they likely weren't going to be able to get like a actual cause um, for the initial medical examiner to have the organs like the throat and other organs. That is not untypical at all, because they go hand in hand with the toxicology report. A lot of times they're testing like, it would be your bloodstream, but uh, you know. So they get the juices and things from your organs, because your organs is the ones that has to soak up and digest and all that kind of stuff. And if there's suspicion or possibilities of certain kind of causes, like say a drowning, which people are speculating in this case, but give me a second on that. Then the other parts that could be involved may be kept for further testing, depending on uh, evidence is found and things like that. And guys, I would behoove you to go and watch my live as I did the breakdown and the explanation of what was read on that preliminary autopsy report. And shout out to Ben Crump, because y'all be coming for this man, and it just seemed like, hey, you got hate in the hearts, let it out, I guess. And y'all are mad, but that is what is taught. People is taught to behave like that when it comes to us. We ain't supposed to get our help, we ain't supposed to get no justice, we ain't supposed to have nobody to help us hold people accountable that need to be held accountable, help us get answers. So, shout out to Big Crump. I have not necessarily been paying Big Crump too much attention. Um, these cases been coming and coming like this for the past how many years? And he's pretty much the only one in his lane. And he come in, he do his thing. And for me, it's been a little quiet when he handles his cases. But it could not be. It could be that I just was not, necessarily following like all the steps like that. However, it seems like to me in this case, I'm seeing Ben and I'm watching him, because I'm very much interested and invested, like a lot of us are in his case, and watching him. And again, just like I said about Dominique Alexander, both of these men deserve their props. And of course, they're going to get a lot of y'all on both sides bashing them, and that's to be expected, especially when you have the calling that they do, you have the position that they do. And these men do great work. Okay, they do great work. And so far, I am impressed with Benjamin Crump's work. I am impressed and proud, so proud, of all the people that have showed up for the Nolan Wells family and throughout the funeral, which I didn't watch because I'm not a funeral person. But I heard there were so many. Terrell Owens spoke out. I heard that there were people who gave funds to help pay for some expenses and things. And it just seems like there's an outpouring of support from us. And, shout out to us. And I think we, excuse me, I think because I'm just getting my throat now. Look at that. Say you know me to shut up. I ain't that something. But I think that we uniformly understand what went on. There's something very special about us, and we sometimes just know, right? And you can call it what you want. You can understand it, not understand it, but they should understand it, because who studied us better than them? And it's clear in this situation that we know. We know. which is unfortunate. It's gonna be unfortunate either way because Nolan just didn't know. He didn't know, and I get that there's a lot of work being put in to help keep you know the generations up under us from really understanding what we're living in and what is happening and what has happened. And so they could be caught off guard and oblivious, but their plans are still their plans, right? So, you know, there's all kind of reasons why parents don't really, really, really teach a child, a brown child, what they, especially the male child, right? What they need to know in order to be able to look out for themselves somewhat in this world. Because, you know, the first chapter in Fitness Law, I said all the time that see things for what they really are. Okay, see things for what they really are. And we see this, we know what it is. We see this, we know what it is, and everything points to it. Um, Nolan again. He thought he had some friends, and he didn't know any better. And I can just imagine, and Nolan being able to see all of this right now, and just like, wow, just wow. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard when that's the way that this thing's going. Okay, that's hard for its life. All in my throat. But it's kind of hard for our youth to find out this way. They should be informed. And with that being said, I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite Brown family channels, and that is Belief in Fatherhood, and that is BEL. It's not spelled the exact same way Belief is. It's a little tricky. It's got the E and the I switched up or something to that effect. But you'll find them chocolate babies, okay? And he's the one that I play that song a lot, and I'm just so crazy about that song. That song almost makes me cry every time I listen to it. But I listen to it at least once a day now that I found it. Apple Music. And it's called Black Black Magic is Joy or something like that. But if y'all been over here, you heard me play it before, and it is so lovely. He's good with the music, but this is a father who has a family channel, and I watched the video today. And Belief is a content creator. He is also a musician. He has a great flow. He gives me vibes of Most Steph and Q-Tip and them and all that. And he got some collabs that's crazy. I'm talking about he is all over my playlist. Dude is fire. So check him out and support his content. But I think parents should watch this particular video that he just recently did, and it could help. I'm in mothers groups, and they range. Especially, I'm also in mothers of sons groups, and they range. And mothers are always, families are always looking for helpful ways to have these conversations. Belief did a video today. He has four chocolate babies, and we've been watching them babies since they've been born, since Theo, the first one, was born. And they just getting all big and everything. And he has a variety of uh people, him and his wife, in and out. And they're just as chocolate. They're a little more chocolate than me. Beautiful family, but they have a plethora of people that they, associate with. So the children are used to seeing a lot of harmony there. And so it wasn't the type of environment to where, people around them are always saying, you gotta be, just schooling them on, what it is. And due to all these things happening, he did video trying to, um, I guess, break the ice with the children with this conversation. And I was looking at it like, wow, it's so late, you know. because they're still children, but they should know something. So it's like starting from scratch when you guys mingle amongst them all. How do you begin to even go there? And I was impressed by the way he handled the conversation. It's only a part one of a whole flow that they're gonna have to have. But he told them about Nolan's story. He told them about the other young man where they took him out there. He was only black. They took his clothes and his phone. He showed them pictures of him and everything so they could see and they could relate. And he showed them the video. I was surprised at this one, and it was so hard looking at their faces, their innocent faces, as they watched this video. And they're watching the brown guy, the brown boy that looks like them, out in the water, and he's getting yelled at like that by what's supposed to be his friend. And guys, they homeschool their children. Um, so they got a little help in the game as far as like how to try to teach them, difficult subjects. And Yvette did a great job. Um, um, what's his name? I gotta call him Belief because I forgot his name just that quick. Henry, but I guess he goes by Belief. But he did good too. It was a little more difficult for him, but she is the homeschooler, so she came in and she really helped them to understand because that specific video, that was kind of hard for them to look at. And he talked to them about what are your friends? What are your acquaintances? Like, who do you consider like your super close friends and all of this and that? And then he had to tell them, you can't be the only brown one there. Imagine for a child who don't know nothing about none of this stuff, and you gotta say that and then actually get them to understand it. It takes a lot. And um I am very thankful for him and his wife for sharing that, but that's what they do on their channel. They share all these life lessons and everything, children growing up. But it helps other families to even get an idea of should I or how can I go about. I don't think should be a question. I think that they should know from birth. They should know. Tell them in the womb. I mean, it's that serious. It is very harmful to have your children out here in this world being oblivious to what it is. Nolan, he ended up out there thinking he would be safe. And had he had better education on that, he probably could have made better decisions. Um, the other boys too, you know. And I was looking at the chocolate babies when they were watching that video, and it's just like hurt, confusion, just like, oh, why are they treating him like this? Just not even having a clue. And it was so heartbreaking that, he got to had his conversation with them. Um, but as I'm watching them and they're looking at the video and we hear the young boy, I forget his name, but he said to them boys, he said, I'm never coming back here with y'all again. And I saw that resonated with them. I saw that they put together. He wasn't safe with them. He wasn't being treated properly. And he made a firm, mature, and calm decision and let them know, I'm not never coming back here with y'all again. And they took that and they understood that. Although, it's heavy. It really is. But the way Nolan's friends and their families did him is just absolutely insane. And, again, he didn't see that coming. He didn't expect none of that. They just came back as if nothing happened. They knew nothing. They cleaned their boat, which can or cannot be a red flag, right? Because it's not too untypical to go ahead and get the salt water off your boat. A lot of us know that. So, but these are just the steps they took. They went on and got off social media. Had they lawyer on standby, and they didn't say a word. They did not say anything to the family because of course, they want to act like they didn't know he was there, but they ended up with his keys and his phone. And see, our creator will always find a way because that sticks out. You can't explain that away. You can't explain how you're going to say he wanted to stay on the island, but we have the keys to his car and his telephone, regardless of why, how, or what. You say he wanted to stay. How you gonna sell that when he left his cell phone? How you gonna sell that? You can't. So then when the father tells the story, if y'all haven't heard it, he did an interview and he talked about when they went to go get the phone back. Deep. Then, the story they gave is well, no, the mom went to get the phone, the dad went to go get the keys. They were with two different friends and two different places, and I think the mom had to track the phone, and then she sent a friend of hers to go get it from one of these mothers. I'm assuming it's the judge. That's what I'm assuming. Um, but they never went to Nolan's family to say, hey, he went out there with us. I can tell you everything that we know from that day. I hope it helps. And we're so sorry. We're gonna help you look for Nolan, and then when you find Nolan, like, oh my God, my buddy, right? They never approached them. So when all our people see these things, they see the way they behave. We already know what it is. We know that they absolutely know what happened to him, and pretty likely were involved, right? And I'm just being politically correct, I guess, or legally correct, if you will, by saying pretty likely, because I think we all believe they had something to do with what happened to him. And then the autopsy report sealed it for me. There's no confusion about that autopsy report. Benjamin Crump did a wonderful job reading that autopsy. This man is reading a poster board size of an autopsy, and he is going from, looking at it and reading it, finding his lines, staying on line, and turning around and making sure he's telling it to y'all, addressing y'all. You can hear him, and he's trying to help you. He's like breaking it to layman's terms, kind of helping you understand what you are hearing. And if you are familiar with these procedures and things, it is even easier to understand. And it's not um, too much more than that, really, that you can expect to get because of the great decomposition of the organs, and because you know they're doing it independently with no help from station one. That would be the cops, the original coroner. The original coroner comes up with a cause of, of death it by working with the police. They work together. The investigators and the coroner, they are the ones who put the pieces together and come up with this cause, right? And they're going to have information from the police to help them with from what they know, the witnesses, what they saw at the crime scene, pictures that the forensics took out there, and the examiner is going to have the body as it comes from what happened. And they're going to be able to take pictures from head to toe and inspect that body from head to toe. So by the time it gets to the second medical examiner, that's a great disadvantage. They don't have that original, look at the body, and you got great decomposition, and you don't have no pictures, no notes, or nothing from them because they didn't give it to them. So there's a lot of information that is needed to determine causes of death. It really is, especially when you're secondary and you got all this decomposition. And we saw that the medical examiner, second medical examiner, family's medical examiner, found um, what looks like to be an injury that the first one he could tell did not find. And for anybody who's saying, oh, it could have happened while they moving them on listen, as a medical examiner, okay, you're gonna know if an injury is created while you're still got life in you, or if you're post mortem. Okay, that's something you're gonna be able to tell. All right. Um, Yeah, anybody who has experience knows this. So there's a lot of things that people are saying it just doesn't make any sense. But trust me, guys. Um, I think Crump can take it, but y'all are way. You should be thankful for this man because who else is there? You could be mad because of money, which is crazy, or whatever you're trying to say. But and I'm talking to my people. If Crump don't stand up, if Crump never stood up in any of these cases, would there be any answers to Family Guy? Okay, and I don't know why you would have anything to say about any money they get. They owe us all money. They owe us all their lives. They owe us all everything that they took, and we ain't got that yet. But to be running around here taking our people and trying to get away with it, it's a hard no. And you should be held accountable in any way possible. And Trump has been the man to make some heads ring and some answers be given and some kind of accountability and accommodation, for the families. And I don't. It's so disrespectful, you guys. And he did a great job with that autopsy report. He did a great job reading it, regardless of what y'all want to say. The ignorance is really on y'all part. It really is. He also did a great job of trying to get you guys to understand what he's reading play by play. And I didn't miss a beat um, from that medical examination, but just having gone completely through autopsy situation and then coming from doing a family secondary autopsy, so I am very familiar with that part. Also, how the body works with the decomposition. I used to do hospice and all that. Went to school for criminal justice, all that stuff. So there's a lot of things that people don't understand and are able to consider in situations because you just don't know that information. But y'all got to be careful online when you just be saying stuff because you got to understand you don't know a lot of stuff. So you don't know a lot of stuff. Organs are missing. But there's not too much more determination that really honestly can be done by the medical examiner without having all of the evidences that was gathered by the first medical examiner. That would be more important than having an organ because organs may pretty much be kind of useless. I ain't gonna say completely because you be able to look at it and see something, but is that stuff is pretty much decomposed at this point, and he's never going to be able to get back he or she being able to see it as fresh as it was available to the first coroner. So if that first coroner is trying to say anything other than some things happened to Nolan uh, to cause his passing, then it'll be untrue. I'm confident in that. From that report that was given, it's clear that somebody did some hurtful things to him. And I saw that Judge Mathis was on the Art of Dialogue. I think that was his first time being on there. I'm not sure. But I don't do Judge Joe Brown, but Judge Mathis, I have a respect for him. And Judge Mathis, I saw a clip. I'm getting ready to watch the whole thing, but I saw a clip where he said, yeah, he does believe that um, he didn't drown and somebody did this to him. I think we all come to that understanding. We we know what we know. We know what we know, and we also are connected. We also uh, we're the supreme, so we're we're not confused about a lot of things, and we're not confused about this. I think our people need to open your eyes and move your ass. Okay, I'm gonna say that, and I'm gonna keep getting further into these conversations because it's very important. It's very important. Now is the time. Um, as I'm happy to see uh, Belief have these conversations with the chocolate babies, it's you're never doing your children a good service by not letting them know what this world is that we are in because it can affect every decision that they will make, and that could cost them their lives because they don't want your children, our children, to ever grow up and live. They want us all gone. But, when it comes to the young males, especially the promising young males, they definitely got to go. And we're going to get further into that. Okay. We're going to go through Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's work along with some others, but definitely her work. Because that, like I said, is definitely a Bible for us to keep it real about what this is. And there's nothing that's going to change that. And there's no hoping, wishing, praying, your feelings or whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is. And we should not have this many of our men, our males, our young males at that, thinking that it's sweet out here with these people because it isn't. It isn't. What's his name? Warren. He did an interview. I saw part one. He did an interview with Officer Potato Head, which is Officer Tatum. Okay, so most of us know who Officer Tatum is and what that is, right? And this is a person that never even spoke to Nolan Wells's mom and dad, but you're sitting here saying he's like one of your good friends. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it because how they call someone feel like their relationship is with them. Um, and it takes me also back to belief how he did with his children. He gave categories um, for each phase of like all the way from your best friend to your acquaintance, and had them explain to him what they think it means to have your best friend, to have just an acquaintance, to have a close friend, in every stage. And he pretty much had to tell them what stage, the white folks is in, and how you cannot trust that you'll be safe with them if you're the only one. So don't be the only one. He told them that he is not the only one. He said the first thing he asked them, if one of his buddies come to him, you want to go to this park? Am I gonna be the only black person there? And I love that honesty. And I think one of his sons or his wife asked him, "You do? You say that?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I do." So it's just very, very important. But the judge's son sat down and did an interview, and he didn't even talk to Nolan's mom. He's his best buddy. He's his brother. He said he's his brother. So your brother, he knew something happened to Nolan. Let's not get it twisted. And you came back with that man car keys and his phone, and y'all just got off social media immediately. That's another way they knew something happened to Nolan, right? And y'all just went silent. Y'all were right there where his body was found. That's where you called, talking about something happened to your boat. Okay. Listen, the universe is just showing us right here, right here. So, it's only left for them in their system to hold the people accountable. And they don't do that. So, we gotta fight. And who is the number one fighter that stands up and fight in these fights? It's Ben Crump. And we back that. We back the families, we back him and everything like that. That guy was saying, they were going back and forth. GPS says that from home to there, from home to there. That right there tell you something was going down because if you call the now now whoever you call boat rescue 911 and say that your boat is sinking and you guys need help, and you're supposed to had initially they said they got a partial tow, but then it was discovered that they canceled the tow truck. And of course they did, or tow boat or whatever, because they were going back and forth all night long after that. They went home and back to that spot. And this is the spot where he was found at. But they claim, Nolan decided to stay back. but here, take my keys and my phone, because why would I need that on this remote island? Remote island. Okay, you in no cruise line going by there, and come on, we know you got to schedule that. Like I can't say, oh, my son is out there, you need a ride, baby, you need a ride. All right, cool. Let me hop on the next ferry. It doesn't work like that on a remote island. So that would be even less a place. It's not like you're in a different state. You can go hop your phone to Walmart or something temporarily, or grab a, hey, can I use your phone or something like that. But we all know we can hold on to our phone. Phone gonna help you. Phone gonna at least track where you were. The phone, you can send messages, or as soon as a peak of a signal come in, that message can go through. Phone, you're not gonna leave your phone. Nobody is. They don't care if it don't work, the screen crack, there's no signal. Nobody's leaving their phone. So you came back with his phone, erased some things off his phone, tried to confuse the GPS system and everything, told untruths about what you say happened when he didn't come back. It just goes on and on with these people, and this guy is saying he's really really good friends with Nolan. Nolan is um his brother, but he's never been over to Nolan's house because they ain't going to black people's house. But he said, but Nolan was at my house a lot. He stayed at my house a lot. But you never went to his home. That tells us everything we need to know right there. He's your best buddy. He's your brother. You never went to his home. Your brother, you didn't go to his funeral. Your brother, you didn't look his mom and dad in the face and say, that was my brother. And I'm so sorry. And, we got to find out what happened to him. You never came to her at all throughout this whole ordeal. So, all of this says guilty. There's really no debating it. It's just about law enforcement doing their job and holding people accountable for what they did. And we see the people that they are, and we know that they stick together. We know that they cover up and they lie uniformly, without question. Everybody, it don't matter what state they're in. They don't have to ask each other to do it. They don't need no bells to go off, no secret codes, no nothing. It is what they do. Right? It's what they do. But the audacity, because everybody knows that if the roles were reversed, um, those boys would have been arrested as soon as people discovered that Nolan was missing. You call, you say you need a tow, but you didn't get the tow, but y'all been riding around all night, and you was going back and forth to the same spot. And that interview was pitiful. Potato Head doesn't even need no commentary from me, because we see that he was just there to help him um, give this impression and separate himself, because that's all he was trying to do, was separate himself. He's your brother, but you've never walked up to his parents to say, I'm sorry we lost Nolan. I'm sorry you lost Nolan. That was my brother. I loved him. I'm sorry that you guys are hurting, because this wonderful guy is no longer here anymore. I'm going to miss him dearly. If there's anything you need, but just for you to come to her and let her know how you feel, right? But you're his best. He's your brother. Sure, we believe you. And the way him and Tatum just kept saying there was boats and thousands of boats and 100 boats, and I was like, boats and holes, boats and holes. If they say that shit one more time, I'm just gonna start singing. We sing that song, boats and holes, because they just kept saying it, trying to separate themselves. And Officer Tatum was leading, right? He was telling him the answers to the questions as he trying to ask the question. He give him the answers first, and then he forms it as a question. But you already told him the story y'all practice, and the story that you want, the answer you think is best for him to give her, his mama, them, the lawyers, everybody. Y'all already it's all rehearsed, and we see what it is. You're trying to separate yourself from Nolan. Where was Nolan? Oh, Nolan drinks. Nolan was drinking. Sure, we don't believe you. Okay? We don't believe you. That's a narrative that was put out there. And it makes sense, because you're trying, this is what they do. They say all of the things, just like they was using those code words in Carmelo's trial and all that stuff. And supposed to be down the road, but the, the, this is happening in mass. There's too many that we not even got around to talking about enough. And all these families need answers. They need accountability. And we need to protect the ones that we have left. Okay. I'm not black. I'm OJ. Even Jay-Z was saying it. Although he buddy, but when his time is up, it's gonna be just like Sam Cooke, Michael Jackson, Prince, and all the rest of them. Okay. Nobody special. He told OJ he wasn't special. Right? Okay. They couldn't pin it on him, but they found something to pin on, right? Um, you, they're the press, Frances Press Wilson. She explains it. This woman is great, a brilliant mind, and she spent so many years in this work. And we have a lot of people that did a lot of work for us so that we could have important information that we need so that we can survive, we can prosper, and we can know how to maneuver out here in this reality and that we cannot be confused. And John Henry Clark told us, you have no friends. That statement does not ever change because you want it to change, because you think times have changed, because you've been manipulated to think that it's changed. You have no friends. And he's talking to his people. You have no friends. That is a statement complete by itself. You have no friends. We and our Creator is all that we have. We have no friends outside. Okay. And I told y'all years ago, they want you at the bottom. And once they get you to the bottom, then they want you gone. And look where we are years later. Look where we are years later. Okay. And so they're speeding up the gone part. Okay. It cannot happen. And we got to be multi aware. We got to multitask. We got to get in. You got to pay attention. You got to do all the work you never wanted to do. Okay. All of it. Okay. War is war. War is war. I told y'all this years ago. I've been saying it for years. Do you want to? Do you want there to be absolutely no future, no family structure available for your? There's no promise of any more generations of us. Okay. We are the originals. We are the parents of anybody else, right? And we belong here and we belong in our positions that was taken and stolen from us. And that's another conversation I got to have. Because they have been trying to reverse all truths and they definitely were very bold with that lately. And before I go, because I don't know, it's because me sitting here is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It's a big deal for me to be late, and I just no, we gotta do everything that we have not wanted to do. And all the times they've called us lazy and shit, that's not true. But when it comes to fight for us, we are absolutely lazy. And it's over with, y'all. It's over with. It's over with. You didn't have Terrell Owens and all these other people who know that they get spanked for calling out this type of stuff. Stand up and support if they didn't know. They know. They know. They know them people did something to him. They know that it wasn't no accident, right? They know. They know. Um, we can't be living in this delusional reality that we create that where their ice is colder and you want to just fit in and be accepted and be on levels with them. You don't look up to someone who should be looking up to you, and that when you're looking up to them, you're actually looking down on yourself they had to stomp on your neck and squish it and keep their foot there with great force in order to be able to have the audacity to even feel like, they could do all of the bold things that they do to us. And we're too great for that. And, you know, the way that these people are fighting because for their existence and to keep, the things that they have, but for their existence, we need to fight for ours. Okay. We need to fight for ours. And that's just what it is. Okay, that's just what it is. Yeah, they can come with all the false narratives and trolls and shit like that. I don't even pay that no attention. You know, who cares about any of that? We care about what's being done and what's not being done. And the audacity, the audacity to think that y'all could just do him and then come back and just chill like it's all good, just like the audacity for y'all to railroad Carmelo, just like the audacity for what happened to Kendrick Johnson and his family still fighting, you know, over and over and over again. The audacity for all these recent ones, and y'all keep having the nerve to say they hung themselves. Yeah, that didn't happen. That didn't happen, but I'm getting ready to watch part two. It's very sickening and disturbing. Um, to even sit here and look at this mess. Like, so your mammy told you, or your step mammy, and whomever else told you to go on Officer Tatum because they know he will help you with this stupid narrative, and sit down and you so called don't say these things, and you're not even saying anything except for making it more obvious to us, and you're trying to distance yourself. The way that they had this conversation is like, y'all are so insulting, but you're pitiful because you're stupid, at the same time. Oh, there's hundreds and thousands of votes, and they just kept saying that. He, I wasn't really, I talked to Nolan a couple of times, throughout the night, but, I wasn't home zoned in on one person. I was kind of all around, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, nigga, you came with him, he came with you. Remember, don't forget you said he was your brother at the beginning. So he came with you and he further kept distancing himself. So here's Officer Tatum totally leading this guy. And he's like, so you were on this boat. What boat was Nolan on? Listen, both of y'all can cut the shit. Bitch, he was on the same boat with this ugly motherfucker.